Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Eli Segall joins us. He covers real estate for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
A parade sets the stage for the greatest show in the biggest little city in the world, Reno, Nevada.
It's a legacy that began over 100 years ago and continues today. The Reno Rodeo. Still the wildest, richest rodeo in the West. Keeping it old school at the Reno Rodeo 2022, June 16th to the 25th. For tickets, go to renorodeo.com.
Meantime, here in Nevada, we appear to have one of the highest inflation rates in the country.
Soaring prices for gas, food, housing, and construction supplies continue to hammer Nevadans.
Senator Catherine Cortez Masto was the deciding vote for President Biden's multi-trillion-dollar spending spree, sending inflation through the roof and raising gas and grocery prices over 8% on hardworking Nevadans. Tell Senator Cortez Masto to stop voting for reckless spending and start fighting inflation.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're joined here in Las Vegas by Eli Segall. He covers real estate for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Pleasure to have you back on the program, sir.
Hi, Sam. Thanks for having me.
You are becoming more and more the fascinating beat at the RJ. Land prices are just going through the roof. I thought it was amazing when the Crystal site next door there sold for $40 million an acre, but it looks like that is becoming a price of land on the Strip.
Yeah, land prices on the Strip have definitely gone up a lot. It's interesting, if you look back to 2005, 2006, 2007, during the real estate bubble, land prices back then on the Strip and all over the Las Vegas Valley were exceptionally high. I think they peaked on the Strip at around $30 to $33 million an acre, somewhere around there.
That was the New Frontier site
Correct.
With Phil Ruffin? Yeah,
correct. And there was one other property too, actually, right nearby, a 5-acre parcel that sold for, I believe, over $30 million an acre too. So the New Frontier wasn't the only one to sell at that price, but obviously extremely high valuation, and those valuations absolutely got eviscerated when the market crashed. I think at the bottom, land was selling for maybe $3 or $4 million an acre on the Strip coming out of the Great Recession. And now we have just seen it absolutely boomerang for certain deals, not all of them, but for certain deals, like the one you just mentioned, where developer Brett Torino here in Las Vegas, he teams up with a group out of New York called Flag Luxury Group, and they acquire the former Harmon Hotel tower site in City Center for, as you said, approximately $80 million for just 2 acres. So $40 million an acre. I mean, it's as far as I know, as far as I can tell, that's the highest price per acre for a vacant piece of property on the Strip, probably ever.
The Alon site that's now owned by Wynn, that's opposite the Wynn next to Fashion Show Mall, there looks like there's some equipment on there, but it doesn't look like there's any real activity. What's your thoughts on that side at this point?
Right. I don't know what's going on over there right now. I know that just in general around Vegas, a lot of times if there's road construction or other projects going on, they might use a nearby parcel just for storage for construction equipment and things like that. So it could be just that. I do see that pretty often around the valley. Wynn Resorts has not said publicly what it plans to do with those 38 acres. I think it's about approximately 38 acres, 35 acres, something like that, next to Fashion Show, between Fashion Show and Resorts World. They acquired it about 4 or 5 years ago. Steve Wynn talked about, he had big plans for the site.
He wanted to move on it right away.
He did, yeah. He talked, I think they announced the deal in December of 17, January of 2018. On an earnings call, Steve Wynn talked about building a couple thousand hotel rooms. Literally 3 or 4 days later, the Wall Street Journal story came out, with allegations that he had a decades-long pattern of sexual misconduct, allegations that he has obviously denied, but that ultimately led to him resign from his company, or led him to resign from the company rather. And since then, the company hasn't said what they plan to do with it. I think in their SEC filings, they do say that this land is reserved for future development, but they haven't said what, if anything, they're going to do with it.
We're sitting in the Ahern Hotel on the 9th floor as we tape this, and across the street is Circus and a huge patch of bare land. Has there been any discussion about what Phil Ruffin might want to do with that?
I haven't heard anything, official from Phil Ruffin or Clark County or anything like that. I know that, obviously it's used as festival grounds. Just recently, I think there have been a couple concerts out there, and that's what it's been used for, off and on. Over the last several years, as we see concerts come in. I remember, I think Rock in Rio, a big Brazilian-themed outdoor festival was held there several years ago, once or twice. Mostly sits empty throughout the year, but it has been used as concert grounds. But again, I haven't heard of anything official what, if anything, Ruffin plans to do with that property.
Apex finally starting to catch on fire.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but I would say definitely.
There's some embers.
Yeah.
Somebody's blowing on embers.
Yeah, it's definitely starting to see momentum, which Apex had not seen basically since its inception. You'd get a couple projects here and there. Apex is huge. It's total. It's about 18,000 acres. About 7,000 of that are actually developable because there's a lot of hills and mountains in there that you can't really build on. But there is a ton of vacant land, almost all of which, the vast majority of which I should say, is just empty open desert. There's really not much going on the vast majority of land out there. However, as you point out, at the southern edge of Apex, that was where the city of North Las Vegas teamed up with an individual named Weston Adams, who has huge land holdings in the southern edge of Apex, thousands of acres. And what they did was they teamed up on a 12-mile surface water pipeline project to actually bring water out to Apex. And the knock on Apex for years had been, there's no utility service, there are no roads, there's no infrastructure, so developers basically ignored it. They might look around, you saw a lot of land deals out there, maybe not a lot, but you see land deals every once in a while, people flipping property and that sort of thing, but very little in the way of construction. And obviously, Faraday Future came and went. I think they graded the land and that was about it. But now there is definitely some momentum in that southern area where the utility service has been installed. You go north of that, there's still not a whole lot going on, but you've got this small cluster. Actually, it's not really small. It's a pretty big cluster of projects and land sales that have happened out there over the last couple of years, like Smith's grocery store chain. They bought almost 100 acres out there last year. Air Liquide, a major French international energy company, they just opened a liquid hydrogen plant out there, and there's other activity too.
Weston Adams also owns 20,000 acres up at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center in the portion that goes into Lyon County, and that's been going for goodness, I would say probably close to 15 years at this point in time, where the original talk was developing mixed-use industrial, commercial, and potentially some residential out there as well. And that was his father that originally bought that land. I think that was one of the first big land sales that they made up there. So he's very familiar with that concept of putting in the infrastructure first, because, I don't know, to me, it just seems like the most natural thing. If you have a bare piece of land and you bring people to look at it, they're looking at a bare piece of land. If you bring them in to look at a bare piece of land that has power, has sewer, has water, has all the other infrastructure you need, then they know that they can move in and get started.
Yeah, another factor too that might be pushing developers out to Apex right now is that a particularly popular area for warehouse development over the last 3-4 years in southern Nevada has been near the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And a lot of that land had been, if you go back 5-6 years, relatively cheap, tons of land. The city of North Las Vegas was putting in a lot of infrastructure, roads, utilities, all that sort of thing, sparked a lot of development, and then it just, that area really took on, just absolutely caught on fire. Tons of development, tons of investors buying those warehouses for huge amounts of money, and that land, the land prices have since gone up dramatically, as brokers have explained to me, and brokers of developers have told me. And so there's a lot less available land out by the Speedway. What is there has gotten a lot more expensive, and so I think that's one factor too that's gotten people to look elsewhere. And Apex has a lot of land.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of land, and even though it's a fraction of just developable land, that's still a lot of land. I think TRI was 6 pockets of 6,000 acres apiece. But for those mountaintops, you can put solar up there, or you can be like Tesla. They bought 2,000 acres of mountaintops for security. They didn't want people peering over and looking at their gigafactory, so they bought 1,000 acres on the ground to build the gigafactory and 2,000 acres of mountaintops. Yeah. So there are uses that can go towards that. All right, let's take a break and we'll talk about interest rates when we get back.
Meantime, here in Nevada, we appear to have one of the highest inflation rates in the country.
Soaring prices for gas, food, housing, and construction supplies continue to hammer Nevadans.
Senator Catherine Cortez Masto was the deciding vote for President Biden's multi-trillion-dollar spending spree, sending inflation through the roof and raising gas and grocery prices over 8% on hardworking Nevadans. Tell Senator Cortez Masto to stop voting for reckless spending and start fighting inflation.
Hi, I'm Renee Summerauer, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. One of the things I love about the Carson Valley Inn here in beautiful downtown Minden is CV steak. I have eaten here so many times. Tell folks what they can expect when they come here to eat.
It's a beautiful room, great service. We have certified Angus beef, seafood, lamb, a great range of appetizers, and wonderful desserts. Jean-Michel's done a great job of selecting some beautiful wines for us. The customers love it, and we've got a great selection of cocktails as well. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Eli Segall. He covers real estate for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. So interest rates, how are they affecting at least the discussion in the marketplace at this point in time, both for commercial as well as residential?
I don't know for commercial. I don't know what the impact has been or will be in terms of how it might affect, investors' ability to finance a purchase and get a big mortgage to buy a building. I haven't seen or heard really anything about commercial, but it has already had an impact on residential without a doubt. What we've seen over the last, and it's really very new, really just over the last month and a half, 2 months at most, is a drop, in some cases a sharp drop, in home sales. So home builders for the month of April, this is according to Home Builders Research, a local research firm, their net sales dropped from March to April by 30%.
30%.
30%, or just under 30%. And again, this is April, this is the spring, what's normally the typically busy spring buying season here in Las Vegas, and their sales activity was way down month to month. I know buyer traffic to subdivisions, according to Home Builders Research, has also dropped pretty significantly too compared to a year ago. And then with resales, month-to-month drop in sales too in April, and it's just, definitely seeing a pullback locally, but also nationally. This is not unique to Las Vegas. I know across the country, National Association of Realtors, I think they just reported, 3 consecutive months of falling sales totals.
And that's interesting because the interest rates really weren't a factor back then.
Yeah, the interest rates have really started to climb really just over the last month.
Now, let's put it in context. When we say climb, we're talking about from the lowest historical interest rates in forever. You could get a mortgage, regular 30-year mortgage for 2.99%. So the fact that it's at 5.5% is not the worst interest rates we've ever seen.
No, not at all. Far from it. I think even in the mid-2000s, when the housing market was just going crazy, interest rates were up around 7 or 8% at that time, according to Freddie Mac. And then obviously going back to the early 80s, or mid-80s, I think interest rates were around 15 or 17 or 18%.
Yes, they were, because that's when I bought my house.
Yeah, I've heard from a lot of people who have told me they bought their first house at 18% interest.
Yeah.
So, it's obviously considerably lower now. And like you said, the rates have come up, but they're coming up from what was, a record low level, below 3%, which is really just unheard of. I mean, I remember talking to economists last year who have been tracking this stuff for decades, and they've never seen interest rates fall this low. And so it's come up from a very low level, but it has come up a lot. I mean, I think it's at the highest level it's been in over a decade now at this point. So, and the increase has been over a very short period of time. So, what's going to happen in the months going ahead, in the months ahead for the rest of the year, who knows? But it definitely seems to be having at least a short-term impact on sales volume.
Yeah, and that makes sense. What about valuation of residential? Are we seeing the valuation maintain, or are we seeing, people pricing a little lower?
Prices are still going up. At least sales
still going up.
Sales prices are.
Yeah, and that's the story in the north as well.
Yeah, sales prices are still hitting record highs in Southern Nevada for new homes and for resales. Hitting new all-time highs. That has not stopped at all, even as interest rates have gone up. And what's interesting too is that if you look at the homes that are selling, they're selling very fast. So according to Las Vegas Realtors, our local Realtors Association, I think in April it was somewhere around, among the single-family houses that traded hands in April, about 87 or 88% had been on the market for a month or less, which is really staggering. 2-3 years ago, maybe you'd see 60% of homes selling in 30 days or less. Nowhere near this level. So homes are still selling very fast. I have also heard anecdotally that we're, possibly in Vegas, definitely around the country, seeing more homes, more sellers slashing their prices. So, it really remains to be seen what, the full effects of the rising mortgage rates are going to be, but like I said, there have already been some impacts.
There's an interesting juxtaposition as well that somebody raised to me the other day, which is as prices have increased so dramatically in both northern and southern Nevada, that at what point do folks from California who've been selling their homes for cash and getting bargains here suddenly start going, hey, these prices are Bay Area prices, they're LA prices?
Yeah, they're not at this point, at least in Las Vegas. I don't know about northern Nevada. I know typically in the Reno area, home prices are higher there than they are in Las Vegas.
Yes.
But at least down here, we're still nowhere close to, an equivalent home in San Diego or an equivalent home in San Francisco or San Jose or those areas that are a lot more expensive. However, the prices here have gone up a lot. I mean, they're up, I think, about $100,000 probably from a year ago for the median sales price. So it's substantial.
Okay, now do you have a shortage of housing here? Because in northern Nevada, we're short about 5,000 homes a year, and we're looking out 10 years to need 50,000 homes minimum. Is that the same situation in southern Nevada?
What I can tell you is that inventory here is very low, and inventory has come up, from what it was a year ago or even a couple of months ago. The number of homes that are available without any offers is the way the Realtors Association tracks it. That has definitely come up. A year ago, it was barely. I mean, the level of the number of available homes was lowest I'd ever seen in my experience covering real estate out here. Whether there's a shortage, I don't know. I don't know if you can classify that as a shortage, but again, availability is extremely tight. Apartments in particular, right now, I know vacancies are very low. Landlords are raising their rents at a very rapid pace. And then with for sale homes, like I was saying, the availability is also very low.
All right, so where's the breaking point? Because if you can't afford to buy a home and you're trying to rent a home, at what point do you go, I just can't live here, or I've got to move out of town?
I think for some people, obviously it depends on your situation, right? It depends on your income and the kind of, your job
stability. Well, we're a service economy here.
Right, yeah, and Vegas is very heavily, the labor market is dominated by people who work in service sectors, which are generally lower paying industries. So, it's tough to say. I mean, at least since I've moved here, I moved here in 2012, I've been covering real estate here ever since. I never heard of any significant numbers of people who have said, Vegas is too expensive for me, I'm leaving. Has that happened over the last year? I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. All right, let's take another break. We'll come right back with Eli Segall after this timeout.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
Ahern Rentals began as Signal gas station on Las Vegas Boulevard. Founder John Ahern grew the business by offering rentals. His son Don built on John's legacy, growing Ahern Rentals into the largest independently owned American rental company with 89 locations in 30 states. Don also brought his experience and vision to equipment manufacturing with Extreme Manufacturing and Snorkel. Today, Ahern Rentals continues to bring its family values to a new generation. Learn more at ahern.com.
The Do It Right guys at Nevada Heating have one mission. Your air conditioner breaks down today. We fix it today. Why sweat for days while your air is down when Nevada Heating can get the job done today and you can get cool again? For nearly 50 years, locally owned Nevada Heating has been getting the job done right. Call today at 323-5585 or see us online at nevadaheating.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Eli Segall. He covers real estate for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. County Commissioner Tick Segerbloom was on the program, and he was talking about how he wants to see vertical development more than horizontal development, and was concerned, for example, that Henderson could be moving closer and closer to California if they get their way. What are you hearing about that?
About seeing more vertical?
No, about seeing more development towards California and stretching the resources.
Yeah. I mean, the area that I think you're talking about is probably along Interstate 15, heading south down to the California state line. That area, has been targeted, I know, for a possible expansion of the BLM disposal boundary. The land that essentially the Bureau of Land Management is willing to sell to private investors, private developers for future construction projects. I don't believe anything's happened in Congress to actually make that a reality. I know that Clark County a couple years ago, I want to say, they supported it and they were behind it, but I haven't heard anything lately on whether that would actually happen. But I do remember a couple years ago talking to home builders and other people when this was a major topic of conversation and was kind of moving its way through Congress a little bit. Everyone I talked to said that whole I-15 corridor heading south of Las Vegas would really attract industrial developers, and there really wouldn't be much in the way, at least this was a couple years ago, wouldn't be much in the way of residential development down there.
Well, that ties into Partolz's purchase of the 140 acres down there by Gene, because that's what he wants to do there. Eventually get rid of the hotels that are there, and leave the gas station though. The 100.
Yeah, they don't own the gas station, so they couldn't do anything with that if they wanted to.
Yeah,
but the 96 pump Chevron station, the largest Chevron in the world, or in the country, or something like that.
Yeah. All right. So we've only got a couple of minutes left here, but Ivanpah. Are we getting any closer with entitlements for Ivanpah?
I haven't heard anything on Ivanpah Airport for years. In terms of anything substantial with making that airport a reality and actually building it. I know that this was planned.
Let me stop you for a second. Marilyn Kirkpatrick on this program last year said that within her tenure on the Clark County Commission, it would be up and running. Yeah. That would be within 10 years.
My understanding is that the Ivanpah Airport has been, that proposal has been around for 15 years or longer.
Oh, yeah.
And it obviously hasn't been built yet. So we'll see. I don't know. I haven't heard anything lately on it.
I wonder if the amount of tourism, if it continues to increase at the pace it's increasing, and it looks like it's going to, then Ivanpah would become the secondary airport. That would take all the freight, and then the tourism would all be through Harry Reid.
Yeah, I think that was the idea when it was planned. It was as a reliever airport to the enormous amount of air traffic that comes in and out of what's now Harry Reid International. So, but again, I haven't heard anything lately on whether that would actually get built.
We'll have to swap stories. That's where we have to leave it. Thank you so much for doing this. Hope to have you back soon.
You bet. Thanks a lot, Sam.
All right, and we'll be right back.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
With Nevada's only transplant center and verified burn center, the science is here. With award-winning cardiologist and the state's only dedicated heart failure clinic, the talent is here. With Nevada's most advanced robotic surgery, the technology is here. And with the Silver State's only designated pediatric trauma center, hope is here. All because we are here. UMC.
Ryanculpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Ryanculpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at ryanculpaphotography.com.
That's it for this edition of Nevada Newsmakers. We'll see you on the next broadcast. Thanks for watching.